Hey everybody, this is Blue, and I wanted to talk about Doctor Who. For the last few weeks, I've been watching some videos on the Dave Cullen show. He does entertainment reviews, and he expresses his opinions on programming on many different levels. And he's done a few videos about Doctor Who, and I've been feeling that way about Doctor Who for quite a while. And he talked about walking away, and I agreed with him, and I decided to put a little bit more effort into things I've been working on, and I was going to complete my walk away from Doctor Who in a way. I am over 50 years old. I have watched Doctor Who for 40 years. I have merchandise and all that. I ordered this. Loved it. My favorite modern Doctor is Christopher Eccleston. But when I started watching Doctor Who, John Pertwee was the Doctor. And I love him too. I think he was an amazing Doctor. Because he had the outfits, he had some vehicles, he had sass, he had a well-defined personality. There was conflict, and sometimes he could be mean and, well, not mean, rough. But he was always a good character. He was, in many ways, if you look at the D&D alignment, I would say that he was lawful good. And so I've always liked him as a character. Doctor Who today is not like what I grew up with, what I enjoyed. And so, like Dave Cullen said, sometimes you just gotta walk away, which is very true. On a previous channel that I had on YouTube, I had somebody that was just wanting to instigate. She was wanting to cause trouble. She was bouncing a lot of accusations and making a whole bunch of videos because she fed off of what my response was. And so we went years, bouncing insults and all that back at each other. It's a waste of time. And so I'm going to leave this massive distraction, arguments and all that of Doctor Who and gender politics, because to me it's become a waste of time. Sorry. So, like I said, I like John Pertwee and Christopher Eccleston. Those are my two favorite Doctors. And I think that they were the best, obviously. Now, my better half, she likes Tennant. And she's watched Doctor Who for quite a while, too. She likes Tennant. She has his sonic screwdriver. I have Eccleston's. Yeah. And Tennant was a great Doctor Who as well. Sorry, my tongue's a little tight today. He had drama, he could smile, he knew there were times where he was very kind of dark, and then other times he was very lighthearted. There was comedy involved there. Him and, Catherine Tate, Donna Noble, they made an excellent team. Those two were worked off very well for each other, similar to the Doctor and Sarah Jane. And so that was good Doctor Who. I stopped watching Doctor Who with Matt Smith. I watched the first set, when he was with Amy Pond and all that. And I was seeing more and more and where Amy Pond was given so much more power or sass over the Doctor. It just seems like there was starting to there were episodes that turned the Doctor into the secondary character, I felt. And I'm just going, no, that doesn't work for me. And so that was turning me off. There are good female characters in Doctor Who. Romana, okay? I liked her. Who doesn't like, I can't think of her name and I just mentioned it. Sarah Jane Smith. Loved her. There were many good female characters in Doctor Who. But there was always this balance and some limitations on what the female characters could do. Romana, remember, became president of Gallifrey. So, I mean, it wasn't like they were, putting females in these very restricted roles. It just seemed that with Matt Smith, Amy Pond was given a little bit too much of a mouth, and Clara, one moment, getting over a cold, so my throat's a little aggravated. So, they're just saying like there were too many times where Clara had too much power and was just rubbing me wrong, and I just gave up. There was this one episode where she was throwing keys to the TARDIS into a volcano. And I'm just going, why would she ever have that much power and all that? And it just got worse. And so I have not seen Peter Capaldi at all, so excluding clips. The female Doctor, she is so blah to me. I don't remember what the actress's name is. Never watched an episode of that. I have seen some clips off YouTube, and it just seemed to suck. And I just lost interest in Doctor Who. And it got worse. It seemed like the BBC was taking their gender politics and just throwing it into Doctor Who any way, shape, or form. And it just made the story worthless. They were more concerned, in my opinion, that of the agenda. Oh, I gotta say it.
The message.
And over the story. And so I just hated it. And so I decided, I'm just not going to watch any more Doctor Who. Does it mean I stopped loving it? No. They're, my favorite Doctors. I could watch this over and over again. And I still watch Doctor Who. Especially, there's some of my favorite clips of Doctor Who that I just every once in a while just have to watch, on YouTube. But in the specials that they had where they brought back Tennant, I absolutely hated Donna is back, and they were trash talking the Doctor. It was mentioned, gender politics, male representing Time Lord. Okay, it's not male representing. He is a male Time Lord, not male representing. But we gotta get our politics in there. And then I don't know if it was the same episode or what. The two of them basically were saying that they know everything, and that David Tennant doesn't know anything. Now, the two females maybe have a total of 60 years experience of life, and they know everything? Whereas David Tennant's Time Lord is over 900 years old. He has so much experience, been in all these different places, and they're saying he knows nothing. This is a disrespect. This is trash talking. This is taking down like a lead character. And I'll get into that again a little bit later. But I find that distasteful. They could have written this better. And so, like, these last few years, they've been doing this crap, and where the BBC has thrown in their message and all that, and it just took away from it. And then we have on YouTube so many channels out there that are criticizing a lot of this. We have like, what is his name? Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker, and all that, where they have podcasts. You know, there's sometimes it seems like 20 of them, but 5 or 6 of them get together and they talk about what the woke is doing and how the woke has destroyed this, the woke has destroyed that. And while I agree with it, there were times where it just seems like they were complaining to be complaining. They would take the smallest thing and make it into they'd take the smallest thing and turn a molehill into a mountain. And it just kind of sucked on that part too. And so I was just starting to walk away. I was losing interest into the things that were said by Nerdrotic and all that. Because, like I said, it just was getting overdone. Now, Dave Collins in his show was talking about this because it reached a point, and we saw this with She-Hulk, where we think that the woke was intentionally doing this stuff to piss off these free thinkers like Nerdrotic, because then they do their episodes and they can get some free advertising. They were feeding off of each other's rhetoric, and it was very visceral. It was very hate-filled. And, there is proof that the woke is absolutely stupid, because, they were showed some Russell Davis's interviews, and they recently redid Davros, the maker of the Daleks. And Davros has always been in this wheelchair type life support system, and because that is considered disabled and we can't have bad disabled people, now in this latest episode where they had Davros in there, he could walk, because we can't have bad evil people in wheelchairs. And they even had a wheelchair human who had a wheelchair with missiles in it, little mini missiles and all that. And that was just ludicrous as fuck too. And so, there was somebody, I think it was a Critical Drinker, who was saying how it took away from agencies of the handicapped, because you're saying they're not capable of doing this. Yes, it might have been not good, but it showed that the handicapped or potentially handicapped have the potential of doing many, many great, grand things. And so it was just getting outright terrible. And so I had to actually watch some of these episodes that they were complaining about. Like I said, were they complaining to complain? And so, Dave Collins, gave the advice of just walking away. We don't own the IP. And so there is nothing we can do about it. If they want to go through and rewrite it, they can. And there's nothing that we can do about it. But there is something we can do for ourselves. And so that's where I'm heading. It just seems like, I'm going to use this analogy here. The woke are like the Daleks. They are coming after everything. They want to destroy everything. It must be all them. And anything that's not in their proper perspective is wrong and must be destroyed. And so, it's you either accept what they are going to put out or you walk away. And so,
No.
one of my favorite parts of Doctor Who too.
I said no. It means no. No! Because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rescue him.
I'm going to take Doctor Who and I'm going to rewrite it. I am a game designer, as you guys know that are subscribed to my channel. I am rewriting, or I should say modifying, an existing game system that's not D&D, and I am going to recreate my version of Doctor Who. Instead of it being so technological, it's going to be magical. The Doctor, I can't call him Doctor and all that. He is not going to have a sonic screwdriver. He's going to have a wand. The wand is going to be roughly 1 foot long. It's going to have 5 or 6 stones, in gemstones, in the metal shaft, and it's going to have sonic law as one of the spell lists that it can use. So it'd still be kind of a sonic wand, so to say. And this is important because Dave Collins explained, big picture. The IP we don't own. We can't do anything about it. But we can't do anything about the big picture, but we can do stuff about the small picture. We can support independent creators. I would be an independent creator. And so there are people that can write fan fictions, and so they can create the Doctor that we knew. There are people that are making movies, small independent movies, and they gotta really watch what they're doing, but they can make a fan fiction, a variant of Doctor Who for other people to enjoy, so that we can, share our love for the Doctor and, embrace the Doctor Who that we loved. There are so many small things that we can do. I'm going to create a role-playing game for it. And so I don't care about the big canon. William Hartnell, if I remember right, we've always thought was the original Doctor. Okay? That's what our canon is. Okay? But the BBC did this massive retcon with the nameless children or whatever children, in which the original Doctor, instead of this white guy, is this black female. So, they're pushing their gender swaps and all that on Doctor Who. Well, my canon, my personal canon, is from John Pertwee to Tennant. From there, those two people, all that it's in between is my canon. That is what I believe to be canon, because, Matt Smith, like I said, I stopped watching him halfway through. No Capaldi, no Jodie Whittaker, that's her name. Never watched any of that. Since I never watched any episodes of it, it's nothing to me. It's not my canon. Can I sell this stuff? No, if I do enough alterations, I possibly can. But this is my canon, and there is nothing the BBC can do about it. and I could share stories. I could tell people about a character that I created off of this game and some of the weird adventures he went on. And, there again, people that are fans of Doctor Who can share stories. The Doctor lives on the way we want it to, not what the BBC wanted to. Now, some people are going to say that we're gatekeeping. No, we're not. We are allowing people to do whatever they want with Doctor Who. It's just those of us that are very connected with Doctor Who, we are filtering out some of the crap so that people don't destroy what is so important to us. Like I said with the Nameless Children, yeah, that's it. They were retconning the original Doctor. They have retconned bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere to destroy the lore, the characters, and we, as gatekeepers, are going to keep an actual record of what Doctor Who was, between the 1960s and 2010s. We're going to keep that clean and make sure that there is a record that shows that this stuff was just some activist's ideal of, entertainment, and it's not. And so that people can see what the real Doctor is. I have over 20 VHS tapes of Doctor Who, mostly Baker, and I have DVDs of Modern Who. I am wanting to keep it clean and preserve it. And so we're not gatekeeping, we're just keeping intruders out of our canon. So what I'm doing is I am rewriting Doctor Who. Basically, like I said, I'm going to turn it magical. I'm going to say that the Doctor has a sonic wand instead of a sonic screwdriver. And you see, that was one of the things I loved about Doctor Who. And that was, he wasn't a gunslinger and all that. He wasn't violent. He tried to find peaceful ways to get out of situations. And he was a genius. He thought his way through. I thought that was always wonderful. I thought it was kind of always funny thinking about this. You have a playground. This was in the 1980s and early 1990s. You got your kids that are stormtroopers. You got kids that are Jedi Knights or Sith and all that. And they're playing on their battlefields and all that, on the playgrounds, and they're saying they're at war with this, whatever. And there's this one kid in a trench coat with his little sonic screwdriver going, no. I thought that was funny. And so I want to embrace that. I want to protect that. I don't want somebody going, gotta watch your pronouns and all that. So, changes, of course we want to have something like the Daleks, right? Well, I was trying to think of, okay, so we can still have fantasy races in a more robotic, magical suit, kind of like what a construct is. And the Daleks got their name because Davros, he turned the names around. They were known as Kalets and reverse Dalek. So I was thinking I could call mine Emong. Why? Because of the fantasy race. Gnomes, spelled backwards. I know. Cybermen would be Magimen. If I'd have to, I could call the Time Lords Temporal Lords. If you have to change more names, you can turn the Master into the Marshal. I was thinking on Davros, be Devros, because you have your Romulans and Remans, and so Davros and Devros. I know. You can have the Magimen, who, they're the variant of the Cybermen, and instead of in silver, you can put them in like a copper or bronze armor. You can have the Epic Time Wars, and by doing this, I can create the super long and probably highly detailed story of a time war, because in big canon there were multiple time wars. Well, we can do one. And if you are an old-time viewer of Doctor Who, do you remember the space vampires and how, I believe it was Tom Baker, said that it was the epic duty of a Time Lord to kill off these vampires, even at his own cost of life? Well, vampires are fantasy, right? You can create a dimension, and you can have a version of vampires in there to fight the Doctor, or the Temporal Lords or Time Lords. And so I could also give it where the Doctor, all Time Lords, Temporal Lords, have unlimited regenerations, but they have to kill them, you have to use an anti-magic weapon. Since they are so dependent on magic, take the magic away. So, for those of you who know what it is, a Kragoran sword, that would kill a Temporal Lord. I thought that was pretty good. The other thing I know I'd have to change, if I try to publish this, I couldn't call it a TARDIS because the BBC would probably try to sue me. So, change up on the name would be a Temporal and Location Displacement Apparatus. TELDA. I thought that was pretty good. And it can use a cloaking and illusion magic. Instead of a chameleon circuit, we have cloaking and illusion magic. We can give it a weapon. And there's so much that I can do that anybody can do. If you want to write a book, write a book. You can maybe do a small screenplay and do scenes, tragic or important scenes with a Doctor Who variant. There's so much that you can do. And when we do this, we take back our power. I believe this is one of the last Doctor Who things I ever bought. And if we embrace our small item Doctor Who, our small canon Doctor Who, we can support each other without giving the BBC 1 cent. And so I think that's very important. So in closing, I love Doctor Who. Classic Who and Eccleston and Tennant, amazing doctors. There were some amazing stories, amazing creatures. Some of the companions, you loved, because you just wanted to meet Donna Noble and all that. But some people, when I made a video a few weeks ago, and all it was that I had gotten over 1,000 views on this, and I didn't say anything. It was just this image and music. And there were people that were saying that I don't know anything about the Doctor. They were telling me that I never understood the programming. They were wanting to throw insults. This is how they want to act, because they are acting to get a response. They are wanting to yell. It doesn't matter what message you have. Somebody's going to attack you when it comes to Doctor Who. And so, thank you for the view, guys. I got over 1,000 views. Awesome for a small channel. But there is so much we can do. We can take away the power from the BBC, because if we just all walk away, or half of us walk away, BBC isn't going to be making that much money, is it? No more merchandise and all that. And we then are the power. They might own the rights to this particular IP, but it doesn't mean they can do much about it, because if they invest money into something that nobody's interested in, they actually lose money. Okay? So I've rambled on long enough. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Please take care. Be at peace.